Good evening. On behalf of everyone at English in Action, welcome to Immigrant Voices. Bienvenidos. My name is Estela Lopez Gudiño, and I am the Vice Chair of English in Action Board of Directors. And I started with this wonderful organization 17 years ago as a student. And I was one of the storytellers at the very first Immigrant Voices in 2017. Sharing my story was a wonderful experience for me. Okay. English in Action is most known to help a student learn English one-on-one and in small groups. All our programs, language programs, are taught by volunteers, community members, and we do this because we are committed to bringing cultural device. For us, it's very important to build friendships between people who might not otherwise not each other. We believe it is important to hear each other stories, and that is why we are launched these Immigrant Voices. Our storytellers include English in Action students as well as other well-known immigrant community members. Every immigrant story is different and unique. Today, our community is welcoming many new immigrants who each have a unique history. Tonight, we will hear stories of love, hardship, determination, and adventure. One of these stories happened 17 years ago. Other stories are more recent. I invite you to listen with open heart and minds. Even with all our differences, we have so much in common. Before we start, I would like to thank you, our partners in this event, Taka and Great Large. We couldn't do this without them. Thank you, Ryan, Honey, and thank you, Alia How. Give an applause. Thank you, thank you. And I also like to thank our 14 underwriters. Our sponsoring partners include Alpine Bank, Aspen Daily News, the Aspen Times, Holy Cross Energy, KDNK Community Radio, Radio La Tricolor, Remcus Real Estate, Ruarin for Oral Surgery and Dental Implants, and Timberline Bank. Thank you. And finally, thank you to everyone here who make donation to this event. English in Action and TACA are not profit. Your support is essential to making our programs possible, and we are very, very grateful. Thank you so much, and applause. Now, I would like to introduce my friend Alia How of Great Large. Alia will be our MC this evening. Alia is a talented performer and an immigrant from Great Britain, herself. She coaches all our storytellers and help them prepare for this wonderful experience. Thank you, Alia. Thank you, thank you. I was so nervous. Thank you.
Well, thank you everyone for coming out tonight. It's such a pleasure to be back on this stage. I just want to talk a little bit about storytelling and public speaking. As you probably know, I'm just going to adjust the mic. It is one of the top 3 terrors is to come out and speak in public. It's called glossophobia. And can you imagine coming out and speaking in public in your non-native language? So our storytellers will need your help when they have done something that is such an accomplishment in a foreign country as they're establishing themselves. Please put your hands together and cheer. So let's try that. Woohoo! Ow! Beautiful. And another way you can do is if your heart is touched, just to click your fingers. And you can groan. Let's hear a groan. Oh. You can put your hands on your heart. But please allow this, even though they can barely see you with the lovely lights, allow this to be an interactive experience. They're sharing their hearts with you. And we're right near Valentine's Day, and I always think of storytelling really as an act of love. And the most precious gift you can receive is a true story from someone's heart to all of the hearts here in the room. So, responsive audience. As we have a full evening of storytellers, I'm just going to go right into introducing our first storyteller. She has been so fun to work with. She is bubbly. She's from Bogota, Colombia, and her name is Maria Elena Avila Bustos. You have their information here on the program, but to hear about how her passion and desire to be a social worker, even though that career didn't happen right in the beginning, she has found that thread to work with people and to share her love of humanity and the joy of life and curiosity for learning. So put your hands together and raise your voices to welcome Maria Elena to the stage.
La nevera, the refrigerator. Capital city of Colombia, higher than Aspen. Unpredictable weather. Freezing, rainy, cloudy, and then hot. Bogota, there I was born. My name is Maria Elena Avila Bustos, but you can call me Elena or Elenita. In my family, there were four of us. My mom, Gladys Bustos, long black hair, thick eyebrows. She was at home taking care of us, but also sewing clothes as an extra income. My dad, Jesus Humberto Avila Cañón. Big smile, the life of the parties, always making jokes, playing with us. He's the fun one. My sister, mi ñañis, Daniela, my protector. She loved playing outside and making tons of friends. And then me. I was the firstborn. So my way to have fun was by studying, doing homework. I was very conservative and I tried to do everything perfectly. I dressed like a nun. So the kids could be cruel at school. Growing up was lovely. We were not exactly rich, but we had enough to be happy. We had each other. After high school, I wanted to study more, but my parents couldn't afford it. So I worked very hard for 6 months, saving money for college applications, and finally I got in. I wanted, I wanted to study social work, but in that time the university didn't offer anything related to that. So I was good in math, and I studied geomatic engineering. If at that time you ask me, hey, Maria Elena, what is that? My answer would have been, I have no idea. The university for me was like a salpicon. Salpicon is a Colombian beverage, drink, that is sweet, refreshing, multicolor. During my primary school, I felt that I didn't fit in, but in the university, it was totally different. I could express myself without judgment. I learned that it's okay to make mistakes and not always agree. The university for me was like open a door to so many possibilities and taught me to love and accept myself for who I am. After graduating, I was working throughout Colombia. I in different projects. I lived in different towns. I learned about Colombia and the wonderful people there. Although I wasn't a social worker, I find my own way to help people. And my financial situation improved, and I began dreaming of visiting the United States. I arrived in Aspen in a winter of 2019. It was the first time in my life that I saw snow. Seemed to me like a snowy fairy tale. And a couple of months later, fate had a gift for me. One night in a bar, I accidentally spilled a drink over a guy who became the love of my life and my husband. One year later, COVID happened, and I couldn't go, go back. It was tough, stranger in a foreign land, living with my boyfriend, different languages, different cultures, but one thing in common. We both spoke the language of love every single day. Um, please don't imagine it too much. Um, and able to fully express myself, feeling lost and so far from home, I found English in action. I started as a student, and Helga and my husband Killer were by my side in this new chapter of my life. Now I'm here, and I'm proud to say that I'm the newest match advisor at English in Action. Now, helping people as they help me. Thank you.
What an opener from a hot Latina from a frigid city. We now come to a drier culture and personality, Alexander Ignat from Slovakia. I don't know what else I want to say about you, Alexander, other than his sense of humor is subtle. Pay attention.
I was born in Czechoslovakia in 1979. That country does not exist anymore. Makes me sad. Um, if the split is a the split of it is a long story, but that's for another time. My small um, city that I grew up, it's called Banská Bystrica, is in the middle of Slovakia, and Slovakia is in the middle of Central or Eastern Europe. Growing up, my favorite things to do was riding my bike, playing soccer or hockey with my neighbors, and in the winter, skiing. Lots of skiing. Every weekend skiing. Let me introduce you a Slovak ski school to you. A small surface lift, few kids that wanted to ski, and few coaches. There was no grooming. We were the groomers with our skis. We plowed the hill and we were able to ski on it. There were no fancy chairlifts like here in Aspen. But our parents took us all over the place. We went camping in the summer to the lakes, and in the summer we did a lot of hikes to the Slovak mountains called Tatras. When I visited Jackson Hole Teton Mountains in Wyoming, they look very similar. I was a happy kid even though my country was communist. Everything was centrally planned. You were told what to study according to your grades, and if your parents behaved well according to the Communist Party, you could go to the university of your choice. But if you were not at your job, you were the enemy of the people because the people, the state, gave you the job. If you believe in church, you were enemy of the state because you believe in something else. Um, I'm sorry. Not a blank. Yes.
Listening to your story, I got lost there for a moment. What happened if you spoke your mind in your communist
And then
Slovakia?
if people spoke their minds freely, they went to jail. Or you could emigrate to the West. But the life everyone left behind in your country wouldn't be as comfortable. That all changed in 1989 when Velvet Revolution unfolded on, and for me, I watched it on live TV for 2 weeks. After that, it was back to school, and our president's picture changed in our classroom. Our Russian English teachers were speaking perfect English after 2 weeks of revolution. I was blown away. And it got me interested in English, but I couldn't speak it or understand it very well at that time. Fast forward to high school, and our English teacher just came back from Texas from English exchange program, and she was very great at pointing differences in American English and British English. I told myself you should pay attention, and that one lesson stuck with me till this day. That lesson is called Navigating International Airport. She told us everything about security gates, terminals, how to get your bags, and how to get out of the airport. Every time I'm at the airport, I think of that lesson. Then in second year of high school, my dad showed me a newspaper ad, and it said, "Learn English as foreign exchange student or American high school." I said, "Sure, great idea." Well, next thing I know, I'm at an international airport. N- Never got lost thanks to my teacher, and getting on that jumbo 747 for the first time, it was very exciting. Getting picked up by my host family in Salt Lake City, we stopped at Wendy's, and when I asked for no ice, the guy looked at me a little funny. And then we visiting the American high school, it was wow, a huge parking lot, cool cars everywhere. Our high school had like 10 spots for cars. Everybody commuted. In Evanston, Wyoming, everybody was driving biggest cars I ever seen, and everybody was eating tacos, burgers, fries after drive-through inside their cars. I was blown away. I had to sit down with my school advisor, and she asked me if I had calculus. I understood calculator. Thus, I signed up for advanced math class. Luckily, the teachers at the high schools were very friendly, explained to me everything in great detail. And after about 6 months on American high schools, I was able to put sentences together and speak and communicate. It was very exciting. but I was homesick and ready to go home to my family and friends. And back home, that directly led to the college choice. It was a business private college. It was also expensive. All the teachers were speaking English, and all the subjects were in English. But as I said, it was expensive. So one of my friends, school friends, after the first year, he told me about the J1 student exchange program, work and travel. You can work somewhere, and then you have some time to travel. So I ended up going to Six Flags New England in Springfield, Massachusetts. I worked as a ride operator for $6.25 in the year 1999. It was exciting to ride all the main attraction rides before they opened to the public. The Superman Ride of Steel was the fastest, the tallest, the biggest roller coaster on the East Coast, I guess. But it was a lot of fun. Then standing in an employee cafeteria, and my coworkers are wearing Looney Tune costumes. But I met people from all over the world: Hong Kong, South Korea, Poland, Spain, and we all speak English all day. After a long summer, working long hours, it was time to travel. So I took a bus to New York City. I think I got off on the wrong corner because it smelled really bad. Luckily, New York is a great city. I explored, went to Twin Towers, and all the museums had so much cool stuff in them. But after about 3 weeks, all my money from Six Flags were pretty much gone, and I didn't know what to do. So I emailed my J1 friends from Slovakia, and they ended up going to Boston. And they told me to come visit and find them in the red little booths near harbor selling tourist activity. So with this information, I set out from New York to Boston. A little nervous, how am I going to find them? In the red little booths near harbor. But luckily, I got off the subway station near harbor, and first thing I see is the most red little booth. They pointed me in my friend's directions, and they were in a company called Boston Harbor Cruises. I ended up talking to the captain of the boat, and he suggested, upon hearing my adventures and wallet issues, that there's still time in the summer season to work the rest of it. If you're interested, work as a deckhand. So I started working the next day. I think I worked 45 days straight without day off, and I made all my money back traveling and a little bit more. Coming back home was like Independence Day. I was told by my parents that since I saved all my money, I can pay for my school and I have my own pocket money. I was a little shocked, but I was excited about prospects of new freedoms to travel and explore. Thanks to the English language and adventures, I find my way to the valley, and I found Maya, the love of my life, and I can't wait for what's next. And I hope my story will inspire you to learn another language as it can open another world to you. Thank you.
How fun is this? Our next storyteller, Luli Medina, was born and raised in Chihuahua, Mexico. And she's been a student with English in Action since 2018. Her first teacher has always been her friend Ryan, and they spend lots of time together speaking and watching shows in English. And Luli is so extremely grateful for his support and encouragement. And I hope you can remember back to your childhood when you had like a naughty idea and it just seemed impossible to resist not following through on it. Put your hands together and welcome Luli Medina to the stage.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, um, one day, one day, when I was about 11 years old, a little thought come to my mind. What could it happen if I skip school for one day? And I say, well, I mean, I'm pretty good at school. I'm smart. I have a good grades. I don't have any problems with classmates or teachers. In some way, they were proud of me because I was a little smart. In that time, I took my youngest brother with me to the school. We went together to the school. And my older siblings, they left the house before me and they come back after us. So I think, well, what could be wrong? Maybe one day is nothing, right? So we skipped school that day. That was a Thursday. Next day, Friday, I started thinking, well, it's the weekend. I mean, what else? And we didn't go to the school that Friday. Monday, I started thinking like, well, it's gonna be uncomfortable to answer all the questions from my classmates, like, what happened to you? Were you sick? Where you been? And I said, no, I don't want to answer those questions. And I'm kind of smart. I can cut off all my classes, the homework and everything. And suddenly, 3 months pass. My brother didn't ask anything. I mean, why we're not going to school or what's going on? He only followed the lead. What we did that time, oh my God, we have a lot of fun. We used to take the bus, which was free for us, and we took a lot of trips around the city. We know every corner. We used to go to the playgrounds and have a lot of fun, and sometimes we go to the grocery stores and we ate a lot of grapes and a lot of strawberries, and sometimes in a while we stole some apple of oranges and put them in our backpacks. We have a lot of fun. So anyway, one day, in some of those trips, I realized that I gonna be late in home, and my other sibling is gonna be there. So I say, oh well, what should I do? What can I say? I mean, the fun is over. And I told my brother, you know what? You need to go first than me, and you're gonna tell all these excuses like something happened in the school, you don't know, whatever. And when everything is safe and sound, you should go out and give me a sign like everything's good, you can come back. And I was waiting maybe a block behind of the house, sitting in the sidewalk, waiting for my brother, and he didn't come out. But suddenly, a taxi cab stopped in my side. My mom was seeing it. Oh my God. So she get off of the taxi and she said, Luli, what are you doing here? I said, well, I'm going home, Mom. It's just that, the school, the teachers, and they do some activity and they keep us late. She said, Luli, stop lying. You've been skipping school for more than 3 months. I said, what the hell? Well, she didn't say that, right? But her eyes. And I said, well, Mom, please take it easy. Let me explain you. So no, she didn't give me a chance to explain her. So she grabbed my ear so hard and bring me to the house for my ear. All my neighbors and friends saw that. That was embarrassed. But that wasn't enough. I mean, when we got to the house, the punishment starts. But I don't know if I deserve it. Anyway, my mom said, Luli, tomorrow after school, you have to come to my work. You need to learn what work means. I mean, what is to work and how is to earn money. And I said, well, my mom was a cook by then. And next day, I did what she asked me to do. I went to her work. She taught me a lot about chopping vegetables, how to warm water, how to cook eggs, how to cook so many things. And I'm kind of good at it. And I'm enjoying it. So when I came here to this country, I found out the Hispanic community do a lot of that kind of work. You know, work in restaurants, in hotels, doing all these kind of services like waitress, serving tables, which I love, and I started doing that. But I knew that I had to learn more. And I found English in Action. They helped me a lot. Yeah. They helped me a lot to find out the right tutor for me and take me to all these jobs. It was amazing. And some other things that English in Action give us is the opportunity to do these outside activities, like the hiking to the Independence Pass, do the Fiesta de Tamales, and this kind of stuff that I really enjoy so much. And in some way, reminds me a lot all these trips that my brother and I did when we were kids. We really like to explore. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Luli. Thank you. Our next storyteller, this is a journey of such courage, sometimes leaping into the unknown and just praying, trusting, hoping that things will unfold for the better. But to take that first step on a big journey from your home country to another country is just massively courageous. And Sandra Badalis did this as a single mother. Originally from El Salvador, Sandra came to the United States in 2005 with her son, Kevin. She joined English in Action in 2009 and has had amazing tutors. And without me filling in more of the story, let's have you put your hands together to welcome Sandra Badalis to the stage.
My story begins in El Salvador, where I am from. When my son was 6 months old, his dad went to the United States. We suffered in El Salvador alone without someone to help us. 4 years after he left, I found out that my husband had started another family in the United States. I was 20 years old with a 4-year-old kid when he decided to abandon it. So I feel very sad with this situation. I had no family in El Salvador to go to. So I feel alone, and that was when I decided to immigrate to the United States with my son. Was very tough decision, but I know was the best for me. During our trip, my son broke his foot in Guatemala. We have to stay there for a month and a half. My son was sad and wasn't eating, so I got desperate and take his cast off to continue to United States. But I never imagined that my son to get suffer so much to get here. But thanks God, he gave it the opportunity to follow the American dream. The hardest part when was already new here. I had no family, only me and my son. I have a friend, and I asked this friend for help, and she helped me. She looked for a job, and thanks God, I got it. So I asked my friend, I need a babysitter. So she said, I have babysitter for you. Don't worry. So I said, thank you. So I need to work 5 days a week. I wake up at 5 a.m. and running in the snow with my son. So I need to take him to the babysitter. But my son asked me, Mom, you need a car. And I said, my love, I don't can buy a car because I was a single mother. And then he said, Mom, where is my dad? And I said, my love, my love, I am your mom, I am your dad. And he said, okay, Mom. So, uh, 10 years later, I was promoted for supervisor. I feel happy because I was promoted for supervisor, but I'm working 18 hours every day. And my son asked me, Mom, why I don't see you anymore? So I feel sad because I didn't have a time for my son. And I said, my love, I need to work because I was a single mother. And then he said, okay, Mom. And 18 years later, my son, he's graduate from high school, and now he's sales manager and Audi dealer. So thanks to English in Action, my life is changed. I know a lot in English, so thanks to Michelle McClinton, she is my last tutor in English in Action. I feel happy because I know a lot in English. So thanks to English in Action.
I tell the storytellers to breathe, but to be honest, I hold my breath. I am just so thrilled to have the privilege of holding their stories and just seeing them grow and how to put English together in sentences. It is just such a precious experience. Our next storyteller, Bernard Mofoy from France. I first met when I was relatively a new immigrant to this valley, even though I had lived a while in the East Coast. And we lived up the frying pan, and every Sunday I would cycle down with my daughter in one of those bicycle trailers to Café Bernard in Basalt, and we would have the most sublime Sunday brunch. But Bernard is a Parisian who's lived in this country since 1950. You're only going to get a snipping of this man's stories and adventures. I hope there's a documentary filmmaker in the audience or a memoir writer who will just seize this diverse and colorful opportunity. He moved to Aspen as a private chef for the Gradau-Benton family. After working for Air France, being a hairdresser, owning a construction company, renting roller skates in Venice Beach, California, you can tell how much fun I've been learning about Bernard's life. And then he found his true calling in the kitchen. After head chef roles at the Pine Creek Cookhouse and Main Street Bakery, Bernard moved to Basalt in 1990 and opened Café Bernard with his wife, son, and grandkids. Sorry, with his wife. His son and grandkids have all graduated from Aspen High School, and he hopes his great-granddaughter, due in March, will continue the legacy. And on Saturday, it was an extremely special day. It was Bernard's 85th birthday. So I am going to go and get Bernard while you take a deep breath and we serenade him with happy birthday as he comes on stage.
I think she said it all. I don't have to say anything.
Well, you do need to bring the microphone close to your mouth
Okay,
so people
that's
can
right.
hear. That's right.
I got it.
So where are you from, Bernard?
Well, I was born in, I can't remember. So long ago. I was born in Paris, France in 1939, February 3rd. That's 5 days ago, so 5 more days here. And my brother Pierre was born in 1938, January 7th. We have 13 months apart. That was just before the war. But my father was captured as a soldier, a French soldier, and sent to a prison camp in Germany for 5 years. And the government took care of the children of prisoner of war. They sent us to a safe place. It's supposed to be. Anyway, it's North Africa. It was, but we were there in a very short time because the Germans landed in North Africa. So we had to go back to France, to Marseille. And from there, the government made arrangement for kids like us to move into some private homes. And our home was in Savoie, Petit Bournan, which is a little town. And the lady that owned, and the husband, his name was Marcel, and she was Germaine. And I called her Maman Germaine. And then the only problem is where we were in this little town was the headquarters of the resistance. And so one day the German came and machine gunned a bunch of kids, 18-year-olds, and one of them was Maman Germaine's nephew, and he was 18. And then after that, my father came over, and the war had ended, and it was 1945. And we started boarding school, and I went to 3 different boarding schools. One was Fénelon, Rhône, and Saint-Michel-des-Ferrets. And I remember them all. The last one was the best place. And then the thing about going to boarding school in the summertime, I get to see my grandmother in Paris. She lived in Montmartre, and she had an ice cream factory. So we loved spending time there. And we also went to North Africa, to Algiers this time, the last time. Going back to boarding school, one day my mother showed up, and I remember being outside, and she's saying she's moving to America. She had met a Swiss-French hairdresser, and he had been discovered in Paris by Elizabeth Arden, and he worked at the Red Door in Fifth Avenue in New York. And so my mother joined him. So eventually we thought we probably would be fine going. And my father talked to my grandmother about what should we do about Bernard and Pierre. And he decided to let us go to America. So he agreed on that. And then the thing was to get a boat to America. And it was Liberté, a ship docked in Le Havre. And so they drove there, and they tried to put us on board, but they refused us because I was only 11, and my brother was 12, kind of young for. But there's an American lady who was in first class, and she says, "I'll vouch for those kids," and she did, and we never saw her again. Well, she was in first class, but we had a great time traveling. It was a 5-day trip to New York, and I was all over that ship. At my age, it was an adventure. So before we got to New York, it was not too far. A lot of people were on deck, and they was making some noise, and we went to look, and it was the Statue of Liberty. We were there on the liner, and then the thing about it is I was disappointed in the dock in New York. Everything was black and white to me. It's like the movies. And I was disappointed because there was no cowboys or Indians. And I thought my Tintin magazines or comic book all had Tintin in New York, Tintin in America, and I thought I would see some of those. And then my mother flagged a taxi, and she took us to Macy's, and we got all the gears, the bow and arrow, and so then I had to go to school. So they put me in Lycée Français, which was a real nice school, on 92nd Street and Fifth Avenue, and we lived at 1056 Fifth Avenue, so it was really close. And from there, Marcel is another Marcel, was my stepfather, was discovered. He opened a shop in 14 East 56th Street. It was a 5-story building just for hairdressing. And he had one in Boston, Philadelphia, and Toronto, just small salon. But then he died at 38 years old of cancer, and I was 17. So I went to school for hairdressing, and I learned. And my mother, one day when I was 19, she put me on a one-way ticket to Paris. So I went, supposed to work at where my stepfather had worked, discovered. And my mother showed up because they said they haven't seen me the whole time I was there. I was hanging out with my cousin Freddie, who's my mother's age, but he was about 38 years old. He was staying at the Georges V Hotel, and I was enjoying being there. And he went to the casinos in Champs-Élysées. There was such a thing. And he played baccarat, chemin de fer, and I was eating for free. So my mother showed up, and she heard about the commotion. She sent me on a one-way ticket to Düsseldorf. So one-way ticket all the time. But anyway, I got to Germany. There was a friend of Marcel, and they took me in. The thing is, I think time went by, about 2 years, and I ended up taking the same ship back to America that I had come. It was the Liberté, and I had taken the maiden voyage, and now I'm taking the last voyage of Liberté. So, he's talking about my birthday. It's like when I was 15, I was in boarding school again, but upstate New York, and it was a present from my mom that sent me a little box, I thought it was cookies in there. There's a bar of Dom Perignon. And I was 15 at the time. So I kind of remember that one.
Bernard, thank you so much for sharing us a little portion of your life. It is such a treat.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I thank you with all my heart for all of the delicious meals that you and Kathy have given us over the years. Thank you.
This is to be continued.
So this brings us to the last storyteller for the evening. And this last storyteller, I was in a dance rehearsal. I was creating a new work, and this really extraordinary presence came into the space, and it was Gabriella. And I remember her asking me, "What's going on here?" And I said, "Well, I'm working on a new piece. You know, would you like to come and join the rehearsals? There are dance classes going on here at the launch pad." And that was beginning of a working relationship. I've had the delight of having Gabriella be in 2 of my pieces. And I think opening next week up at CMC on the Mountain, one of my most favorite plays, Native Gardens. Gabriella is going to be in that. So please check that out. And you have some information about all of these incredible storytellers in your bios. But let's put our hands together to welcome Gabriela Espinosa Alvarez to the stage.
Where do I come from? What am I doing here? And where do I go? The 3 basic questions that every actress must ask for a character construction. This is the profession I chose, being an actress. Create characters, stories, and universes. In Spanish, there is a new term for anyone who doesn't fit just as an actress or dancer or director, for anyone who doesn't fit in one category, just simply because they do everything or because they do nothing. The term is creadora escénica, scenic creator. What an obsession do we humans have for identity? The obsession to be unique, but at the same time, to belong. And here I am, trying to construct my own character. I was born in one of the most populated cities in the world, so feeling unique, special, or different was always kind of difficult for me. Do you remember how it is to be a teenager? Now, can you imagine how difficult it can be to feel unique or special when you are in a high school with more than 50 groups per grade and at least 30 students per class? That was my high school. School was easy for me. I loved learn and make friends. But what it wasn't that easy, it was to know what I could do with that, with school, what I wanted to be. After several failures and 2 sabbatical years, I found what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an artist, even though I knew all the bad reputations artists had, like addictions, poverty, craziness, etc., etc., etc. Now, I know that is not the profession what make us become what we don't want to be. but the hopelessness of not feeling special. I left the great chaotic city more than 12 years ago. I left thinking that in another place I would become someone special, but it wasn't that there either. In that other place, I was just one more migrant trying to make a life. However, I discovered something. I discovered the most important thing. I discovered special people. I may not be special to everyone, but now I know that I am special to someone. The place didn't make me special, as the stage doesn't make the actors special, but is what the actors do, what make the stage a special place. The stories and the relationships they create and in which they make you believe. I remember the beginning of a summer in Ardèche, France. I was in a workshop for creativity, the kind that you will take to become someone special. It was called Dance et Paysage, Dance and Landscape. I remember the river, the hills, the cherry trees, the cave, and the wild vegetation. We were 6 of us for 5 days. And the only thing we did was live, enjoy life, the sun, the stones, the rain. And I got it. Being an artist has nothing to do with a profession. But being an artist is a divine act, and therefore, we all carry it inside. Because we are just a channel to transcribe and experience what is beyond words and understandings. In that summer, the 3 answers to my question appeared intermingled between the earth, the water, the air, and the fire of the night in the camp. Where do I come from? I come from far away and from a long time ago. What am I doing here? I am here to live, enjoy, feel, learn. Where do I go? I go where everyone goes, to be part of eternity. Living in the mountains has that advantage. The night is so dark that eternity becomes a handful of stars in the sky. Thank you.